Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Haley Mitchell-Haugen. I am the editor of Sheila-Na-Gig Editions and Sheila-Na-Gig Online. And today we are celebrating the publication of Scott Ferry's newest little chapbook called Dear Tiny Flowers. And Scott will be accompanied by a selection of Sheila-Na-Gig authors from our spring 2025 issue as well. So very excited to have you all here. Scott, welcome. Very excited to more officially get this book off the ground. Very excited. Going to give a little background on Scott for those of you who don't know him or this little book. So Scott Ferry helps veterans heal as an RN in the Seattle area. He learned to write from the vibrant Southern California poetry scene in the 1990s and has continued developing since then by eating as much poetry as can fit in his eyeless skull. Mostly he listens to what speaks in riverbeds and willow thickets and crow wakes. Many of the words aren't his, but are bargained for with the undead through unreasonable soul contracts. His most recent books are Sapphires on the Graves for Glasslyre Press and 500 Hidden Teeth from Meat for Tea Press. Just from his bio, you get a little sense of kind of who Scott is. And I'm going to read his description of the book as well. Dear Tiny Flowers is a book of poetry about a child saved by their own adult self, which is a salvation which is as unnecessary as it is impossible. It is a book about accidentally squirting soap into a child's eye and then coaching them and oneself through the pain to be able to open the eye and to see again. It is about the ghost inside our landscape and the light inside despair. It is about puzzles and mirrors and the names we fit back together. It is about birds and flowers and worms and wasps. But the book is really about longing and a persistent belief that we will find belonging. I wish I wrote that, but I didn't. The wonderful Scott Ferry wrote that. And welcome, Scott. Very excited to have you here.
Wow, thank you, Haley. And Haley, she did so much for this book. I sent her a bunch of poems, and she's like, it needs something. It needs something else. So then I basically sent her a whole other selection of poems, and then she spent much of her own time fitting the best poems of both together into this book. And I've never had an editor take so much care with my work. So I was very blessed to have found Haley. She really is a pro among pros. That being said, very, very happy to be here, and thank you all for coming here in, right now, sunny Seattle. And I'll start by jumping into this Dear Tiny Flowers. I really want to read the first poem. First of all, I have a little excerpt from Emily Dickinson. The meadows, mine. The mountains, mine. All forests, stintless stars. As much of noon as I could take between my finite eyes. Lovely Emily. All right. Tiny winged dinosaurs sing sweetly from the trees. But my yearning is dark with mirrors. I can take an eye out and throw it into the blue milk of April, and God enters with feather, with sharp hunger, sparrow, wren, dark-eyed junco. There is no death here, except in what I forget. Song. I swallow the organs and spit up hummingbirds. I hum a blue feather and kill a garden. I grow a testament and excise a lie. The trees hang in torment under blue sky. Never are the pains throated with joy. Inside the singing I try to remember ease, the body which carries aches and protects. I am not the shells nor the broken bulbs. I remember that God is a light inside grief. Smashed glass and ants glint and bite, a humming in the torment, a torrent of promises, joy singing in ash, a costume for nausea, Little wings spit music as a consolation. When I watch the living, I remember to breathe. Not much separates the maggot from the fly. When I consume the Eucharist, blue bottles sing, and the dead wings inside me flutter. Okay. This one is like very much Emily Dickinson inspired. As we drive through the Olympics, my son points to the giants and says, "The trees grow a mountain." We explain that the trees grow on the mountains, but what does it matter? I like his idea better. Roots lift skyward, Steller's jay, raccoon, squirrel, moth, ferried up into the mists on swift limbs. A prayer, a great shivering hope in the thin wind, a burning, a weeping, a vast music in our hands. Tonight the sun sets in its usual fashion. The spheres rotate inside themselves and then circumnavigate bodies in curved space-time. My children splash diamonds into the fire and acknowledge the red death of the light as the arcs of aorta and carotid spin erythrocytes through their orbits. And the words which begin in one mouth kiss another, bacterial and glittering. And the child who began as a cell swimming and joining now spins and joins, water to water, blood to blood. Stars scrape the inside of their personal gravities. Thermal kick and electric stance. I line up the photo so the ray of sun splits the sound and enters her as a lasered feather. She of almost 12 rotations, her brother almost 4. So many suns to open each eye, and so many deaths left to live through. Sometimes I don't know what to say. Either the cobalt is too stuck in the nacre, or the retreating tide is too honest, or the singers in the pines implode. Pop, crow to ambergris, hummingbird to asbestos, eagle to ore. My throat bird is a copper bomb, my words unworded in blue foam, disaster in lamps, keys in cavities, my only hope a leaping into what I have already shed, my shell a dead wardrobe, my name a leaky disguise. About as weird as I get right there. Okay. Well, I can get weirder. Well, okay, the poem breaks down here. This is one of those ones where you're trying to rescue your young self. The poem breaks down here. Outside the childhood house, paint the tint of Leth. 5,000 parking tickets stuck under the wipers. The window's not broken, the motor's still startable. The keys lost as my father yells in the hallway. My mother's quiet burrowing. There are 2 kids still in the back seat. My sister and I try to get our attention, but our adult selves have other graves to plan. I think the children are still alive, trying to be something worthy of love. Oof. Okay. All right. When I keep having these shameful dreams, I search for the person in charge of them. But when I find him behind the movie curtain, he is also nude, his hair a swath of feathers. He is also late for class. And when he gets there, the teacher says, "You shouldn't be here with the normal kids. You should go to where the others are." He asks where. She pleads to him, "Just go before they see." He stumbles into the hall. His naked skin is light in winter, through bare buildings and all of the screaming swallows in the pines. And I follow him out onto the street by the loading dock, and he lifts out of his flesh and becomes the calm after weeping. And he becomes a transparent map of sugar cane and manganese, blue mint flame curling off of his hands. His mother is there to pick him up in the '80s Chevy. The suffering of the names is rust, and the next breath becomes mine. Sometimes I speak to myself as if I am a child. You don't need to get so upset, I say. Look, a rainbow over there, I say. People don't have the courage to be kind, I say. Through murder and war, God is here, I say. God is not asleep, my dear boy, God is not asleep, I say. Suffering is what we eat, love is what we birth, I say. Weep all your hungers into the sky, I say. The stars will dance between the wounds, I say. Laughing is how to make your body a diamond, I say. Hold the heavens open for everyone, I say. See, you were never alone, I say. You don't need to tremble, I say. There are rivers and elms and the light behind death, I say. Home is all of these thorns and all of these songs, I say. Home is a forgetting and a remembering, I say. Home is a black and silver thread inside your tongue, I say. Dear tiny flowers, I know you are weeds and I would kill you without mercy if you were in my yard, but this is not my space to manage. So I find you wondrous and take photos of you, zoom in on your opalescence. The hairs of your neck reaching for water and sun, your stamen and pistil, your style and stigma, your musical lure to micropollinators. You are your own progenitor in an endless flick of seed and root and bloom and fruit. Here in this world I cannot control, and I rage against the powerlessness. You are a testament to a current which surges and boils in the detritus, which paints the black grass lilac and white, which paints the carmine mind blank as wind. You are everything which exists outside and inside the field of chaos and spring. You have won, have always won, will always win. Every nerve is a geranium bolting in the dark, every breath an impatient pod impregnating the vacuum. I have to read this little one because I don't know if people understand it, and it's just a kind of a strange one. But my therapist tells me, be gentle on yourself. And I almost laugh, but I say, okay, I'll work on it. But really, it's like putting a man disguise on a bear and teaching him to sing. And then telling the bear he sounds great. The costume's not fooling anyone. And the bear is now a man in a bear carcass, afraid of his own voice. And then there's always, my therapist tells me yesterday that I cannot control everything that I feel is unfair. And that is why I have been suffering. In my head, I yell, why does everyone underestimate me? And then I plead to myself, you want me to just give up? And then I say out loud, I think it helps me feel safe. I want to know that I have at least tried. She responds that the situation is always more complex than we can see. And I see myself as a speck of meat on a window, screaming and spitting at all of the fires, the body, the earth, the billions of stars, dancing a slow burning waltz. All right, probably last two here. My son plays with a broken bicycle reflector at the park. Says it's a puzzle, so I pocket the tangerine shards and bring them home. But when we try to put them together, there are too many missing. No way to fit sharpness to sharpness, not even enough to know the size of the circle. And he sighs in disappointment as we shift the pieces we have in our hands. Severed words, torn maps, cut tableaus, and try to create some wholeness. And I want to tell him that no one is ever given the whole mosaic at once. But we have to pretend we understand, pretend we are satisfied. Hoard every persimmon sliver, place them carefully with all of the others, and wait. All right, last poem. I've heard. I've heard you were supposed to save yourself, returning to your younger self the moment you stopped believing in God. The adult you appears through the wall, a savior weeping at the sight of your wounds. But the child you bites your lip and hisses, blood from your own face under your nails, and rebukes the approaching intruder with a chest full of chlorophyll and grace. Young breath metered and sure under the comets and fires, your name grips the house as it explodes. Your fingers begin that record again. Your words slide across the white pane. Your voice a holy thing in the flame. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Scott. We all have been listening to the amazing Scott Ferry reading from Dear Tiny Flowers. So much power and emotion in 44 pages worth of poetry. That is just astounding how wonderful this little book is. So thank you so much, Scott, for being here.
I'm verklempt. Thank you.
Again, thank you so much, Scott, for your amazing reading. And we are now moving into our invited mic portion of the event. We have a few readers set up from our spring issue of Sheila-Na-Gig Online, which was curated by Simona Carini, who's also here. So thank you, Simona, for finding such wonderful poets. And we're going to start off with Jennifer Freed. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Scott. I really liked the way the adult speaker and the child self were interacting in your poems. That was really wonderful. This is my first time in Sheila-Na-Gig. I've seen it in people's bios, the bios of poets I like, and I just am terrible at submitting. So I'm really glad to be here with all of you, and thank you. I'll start with the poem that's in this issue, and then I'll read one more. This is called Dream with Your Dreaming Inside It. This time, you're paddling a blue canoe. The sky is clear, the grass tall in the field beyond our childhood home. Soon, we'll go to Freddie's farm to buy some corn. We'll load inside your little boat, which now becomes a ship. Grandpa's barn is near, full of tools you say you'll use as you sail on. And his berry bushes, raspberries, red on our palms, our tongues, here and here and here along the grassy path down to the shore. You walking beside me now, childhood summer on our skin, skinned knees, salt air. And then we're back inside the hospital where you are slight and gray and thin, where your eyes are huge and calm, where you are 56 and cannot catch your breath. You're whispering, the portal, the ship, morphine drips. You've closed your eyes. You're dreaming distant moons and stars, otherworldly lives. You say, out there, I won't need air. Your wife and I, we say we'll stay down here for now. Make sure your berries, tools, and corn get loaded on your ship. You say, don't worry, I know you'll follow. Everyone will follow. So the second poem is kind of in the same series. This is called 6 Words in an Ellen Bass poem, Take Me Back to My Brother's Hospital Room. And it has an epigraph from the poem by Ellen Bass called Nakedness. And so her 6 words are, after death, the jaw falls open. I stood at the foot of his bed, watching my sister-in-law leaning over him, her cheek hovering inches from his lips. The doctors and nurses came in, said they'd seen the monitors. There were tubes and lines they had to disconnect, forms they asked us to sign, words neither she nor I remember. When we were alone again, the room held a new stillness. Already the blue was settling in. We straightened the sheets, collected our coats and clothes, our empty cups. His jaw had fallen open. She pushed it closed, but it opened again the moment her fingers left his skin. She took one of the extra blankets, rolled it, placed it under his chin. The cloth was no match for the gravity of his bones. I helped her try again with a pillow and a second blanket. To do so seemed essential. I suppose we could have covered his face, a thought that didn't cross my mind for years. His jaw held, half closed, long enough for us to leave the room. Thank you.
I believe I'm next, so I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Hilary King. I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, and it's also my first time in Sheila-Na-Gig, and I was very excited as well. I'd always wanted to. I'm going to read both of mine from the magazine. The first is, I'm actually going to read the second one first, and it's just something I was thinking about. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and like, what am I really listening to lately? My favorite podcast lately is The Grass, recapping yesterday's orange and yellow sunrise. Is The House, telling its story in shifts and creaks and squeaks. The Full Moon takes listener questions. Is shame weightless in space, I ask? Filling my ear canal keeps me from drowning. Hope a small boat. Sound and noise, its oars. I record the argument between my hunger and my mirror. The boat tips. In the ear, there are canals, drums, bony labyrinths, song lyrics that come back to you 30 years later. The ear is a haunted house. Comments my mother made about my body are pressed in vinyl. Late nights, I put on gloves, slip the records from their dusty covers, and dance to the scratches. I can't remember my grandmother's voice. Her pitch was high, and her aim was my mother. And then my second is also from the issue, and it's called Do Not Consider the Persimmon in Winter. Tell me instead how you endured summer, late summer, not the sexy, fresh 4th of tomorrow, but infernal August of right now, when it's too damn hot and you can't breathe. Little green hands all over your face, birds home building on your shoulders. A child climbs your heart, then a dog pisses on it. Your heart is too tall, sways. This, a season no one sings about, no one memorializes in ornaments or flavored coffees. Close your sap-filled eyes. Remember, sky lies beyond crown. Hold your branches open. You are at your work. You are turning flowers into fruit. Thank you.
Wow, those were so great. I hate following you guys. And Scott, can you hear me? It's the first time I've been on Zoom for a while, so I've been running around all day. I'm in the Los Angeles area right now, and a little scattered. I had to go to LAX this morning, so those of you who have been here know what that's like. So I'm gonna read the first one of the poems that I had in the recent issue of Sheila-Na-Gig, and I really appreciate Simona and Haley selecting my 2 poems for that. The other one is a golden shovel, and I don't know if I can read it properly off the page. So I'm going to read Androcles, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right for people who are more aware of Greek pronunciation than I am. Androcles. Each time that I drag myself from my bed, heart full of dread for what the day might bring, I tick a box off the finite number of mornings on offer, ask myself whether it matters and why. I tell myself I am impotent, unimportant, a bit character in this play that my mother reminded me was not a dress rehearsal. Another cliche, but one of the only bits of maternal wisdom that sticks. We make our meaning, I suppose. Though at this moment, all that comes to me are trite visions of ripples and butterfly wings, fanning air that someone elsewhere breathes to sing. I hold each destination fleetingly, with yearning and despair, a constant goodbye on my lips, one foot out the door the instant I arrive. From where I stand, what does it mean to have pulled a thorn from a lion's paw or spread my words like seeds, not knowing where or how they land? If grief is love and love begets grief, will I be pardoned in the end? And then the second poem I want to read, thank you, was recently in One Art. It kind of gives you a sense of where my head's been lately. Seasons affected disorder. It's spring, but I'm stuck in fall, roasting vegetables, stocking savory seasonings, drinking cider and spiced tea, looking forward to holidays that never were, to a new year different from the one we're in. I write the wrong date on checks, wait for the sky to get dark earlier. The gloom blankets me with autumn as I walk the dog. The world is in a fog, thick enough to drown. Bundled in synthetic down, the jacket's insulated baffles keep me warm, blind to the flowers' bloom. Thank you.
Okay, it's my turn, I suppose. And hello, everyone. Hello, Betsy. Sometimes my English leaves me and I get this mix of languages that come into my head. I'm sorry. I'm a German-born British Peruvian living in Lima, Peru. And I read one poem that was in the latest edition of Sheila-Na-Gig, and then I read another one. Bleak. That ashen sky made everything despondent, as though even grief had abandoned us and cleared the way for a Greek tragedy. A dog pissed against that broken pillar which once supported the station master's small house. The wind had not yet remembered us. You looked down, examining your shoes. I wanted to get away. The station clock clicked another minute and told us that the train would come in 12. Why had I said yes? Shame festered in my stomach and my brain spun a purple weave. I had given in, and you had loved it, lying to yourself about the purpose of my presence. Spend the night, you begged. For you, it finished there. For me, it finished then. And the next one is a bit bleak too. I'm sorry. My best friend is silent. You never wanted to talk or share your misery. Always hid behind smoke screens, perceived happiness. A life on the opposite end to posting selfies. You don't even know what a selfie is. Always hidden in your cocoon, sure the waters would stay low, the tsunami, the mudslide not touch you. No wrinkle ruin that perfect skin. Insolvency, a disease acquired only through contagion. Quietly hopeful behind closed doors. The terrace now bare and gray, no longer an explosion of colors lovingly watered. The dogs died long ago. Your husband not only forgot who you are, he barely recalls who he is. Sometimes he remembers that he loved you. While you wash his pants again, they don't dry on these wet, cold days. You look at your red, swollen hands and remember when you were 3, when you could at least pretend to have a dog pulling behind you a matchbox on a string, and you were very fond of it. The house reeks of urine. You count out his heart meds. He tells you he's taken them already. And you add the 2 for his diabetes, 3 for the prostate. You try and get him to wear his diapers. He doesn't see the need, and he's a big man. I'm too far away. You no longer call. You never believed in technology, and your phone is dead. My skin contracts in subtropical summer. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Robbie Gamble. I guess I'm up next. I just wanted to say thank you to Simona and to Haley for including me in the Sheila-Na-Gig community. I'm so impressed with the power how powerful the poems are in your journal, and it's an honor to be included in them. This is the poem that was in this last issue. It's called "On the Train from Edinburgh to King's Cross." The land is fast receding out the window, a conveyor of pastoral undulations, fields flocked in turn with creamy tuffets of languid sheep and the dark angles of crows. I am worn down by this leaden skyline and the self-righteous cacophony of factions in my news feed. And the only destination I am drawn toward is a seat alongside reported victims of cruelty. But I no longer know how to get there. I think of Philip Larkin commuting southwest from Hull to London, peering into a procession of trackside courtyards, catching fragments of Whitsun wedding rites underway. Larkin the loner, his verse by turns pissy and angelic, walled off from inexplicable layers of matrimony by a rattling pane of glass. So it is for me in suffering, this contented travel with my beloved in time of wars, the Holy Spirit a sputtering flicker somewhere far off stage. We too saw wedding parties along Edinburgh's Royal Mile, weaving through touristy throngs, punctuated by seagull cries and bagpipes ricocheting off the smoky stone facades, grooms and brides and their pastel-hued retinues trailing a glaze of alcohol as they cosplayed their way into an intention of lifelong commitment. Such a brash swerve out upon this indifferent, simmering planet. Southward we clatter, and fields yield to suburban metastases. High-rises sprout, graffitis clad the trestles and transformer stations as brazenly as in Madrid or the Bronx. One more dinner and a bed rest in London. Then we fly home to a festering heat dome and our own particular folio of national bigotries, where we will not be out of sight, only somewhere else, still bewildered. And the second poem is it's from a just hot off the press anthology called Keystone Poetry. It's poems about contemporary poets on Pennsylvania. I guess I was born in Philadelphia, so that was my in with this group. But it's an incredible collection, and I'm thrilled to have this piece. It's called Tioga County, Pennsylvania. Roadkill. Deer carnage everywhere, a half-skinned badger skeleton, canines askew. At the Burn and Barrel bar, big ball-capped men push back on stools with surgically repaired knees, licking their chops at the new big screen crop of pro-fantasy rookies. Bridge construction on Siesta, the transports sigh and heave on the gravel lot outside. Behind the bar, a bank of bourbons flanked by stars and bars and a terrible towel. North out of town toward the New York line, a parish billboard proclaims, "Don't wait, for 6 strong men to carry you into church. Thank you.
I'm Kenton K. Sorry about that. The first poem I'm reading is from the spring issue, Avogadro's Number, and it's based on a true story of my freshman year in college. Avogadro's Number. It's 10 or 11 o'clock, and I'm an eyeball looking through a telescope. A telescope. Well, lightning bolts telescope between my eyes and mine as I stare at the yellow and white dots that are suns or galaxies, but could be starships or fireflies. One is a whorl, not the Milky Way, but so like it, I could be looking into a rearview mirror at the retreating past, a time of sidewalk gardens of orange butts, grocery bags, bottle fragments, freshman handouts, newfound freedom to drink lattes all night, test tubes, Amadeo Avogadro, Count of Quirigno and Cerrito, the algebra of his moles blocking my path to med school. Why the hell do I find galaxies so much more interesting than bodies when I am a body of 30 trillion cells, 300 times as many as stars in the Milky Way, and yet 200 billion times fewer than necessary for a mole? And why does New Year's fall in winter and not spring? The second poem I'm reading is from the 2025 issue of Fairy Tale Review that was just out a couple of months ago. And it's called Goldilocks and the 3.5 Bears. When your father is a bear and you're the only half bear in town, you can't do better than Goldilocks for a mother. You say you like honey and she makes you honey porridge every morning. When you take up ballet, she drags a dozen relatives to every recital. You lose 300 pounds and win a residency at the New York City Ballet. But leaving San Francisco doesn't feel right. What feels right is Sunday brunch with Grandpa and Grandma Bear. What feels right is your mother's honey porridge. Your father doesn't say it, but you know he wants nothing more than for you to join his beekeeping business. So you study accounting at SF State, collect trash for the lair, and stay in your old room. Grandpa and Grandma Bear tear up when they tell you for the 1000th time how they came home one morning and found your mother snoring in your father's bed, which is your bed now, and you wouldn't change a thing. Thank you.
I'm Robert Dean. I'm in Kansas, and we're surrounded by tornadoes and stuff right now, but it's calm here. So I'll apologize for not writing in the chat. I'm usually all over the chat, but I've got an inner ear virus, and if I move my head too much, I tend to fall out of my chair. So we don't want that to happen. I'm going to try to read both of the poems that were in the recent issue. The second one may be too long, and if it is, I'll do something else. And thanks to Simona for selecting these. The Tao of Too Late and Too Early, after Zhangzi. A white wall of fists punches up into the morning sky. No explanation why or where from, or what sage breathed them out, though we can deduce tears will be forthcoming. I deduce from my alarm clock I will be late for my appointment, though the clock on the wall when I get there says I am an hour early. It was now when I left, and it is now when I arrive. It will be now later when it rains. I write these words which are not words in the place of no arrival, and I am not the writer of no words in the place where I am. You are not the reader of that which cannot be read, spontaneity leaping as you turn pages of mist and cobweb, my words buzzing like gnats at the holes of your brain. The way from me to you is the way of the clouds, and we know not when we will condense and fall, but it will be now, and the earth we quench will be us. We are secrets, and we keep our secret ways, and we flood the 10,000 things which cannot weep without us. Even the alarm keeps to its way, bedazzling me in my search for an oar to steer the deluge. I do not tell the psychologist any of this. She would think I'm crazy. For her, makers make, clouds move, has been to will be. The 10,000 things, by the way, is classic Chinese way of referring to everything under the sun. The second one is Shadow Catcher, and I think I can fit this in. I want to do this one specific because I see George in the audience there. It's after an alleged photograph of Lakota war leader Crazy Horse. The man in the photograph is not the man in the photograph, is not who we need him to be. Warrior of visions, prophecy, shudder-eluding saint of the invisible spectrum, slipping back and forth, shadow to reality to shadow, shedding and donning roles like skins, conjurer of spells, confounder of the aperture of history, fugitive from the jailhouse negative of time, the only one of us who never surrenders. Break. Vision quest. Horseback warrior rides out of lake. Horse floats, dances, bullets, arrows all around. Lightning, hail, warrior escapes, untouched. It's crazy horse medicine, and we want it, need it, like when Thetis holds her son by the head and dips him in the river Styx. It takes an arrow well placed by Paris to do him in. A bayonet from a guardhouse soldier to do in Crazy Horse, plus one of his own to hold him back, as has been foretold. Prophecies are like that. They have a way of being fulfilled, especially if we believe them, right? Crazy Horse and Plato have a dialogue about shadows in a cave. It is during the Custer fight. Few people know this. The real world punches a hole into the shadow world and grabs Custer by the throat, tells Crazy Horse to take the credit. Crazy Horse declines, but Plato says no one listens to dead Greeks anymore. And Crazy Horse smokes the pipe and Plato smokes the pipe, and someone takes a picture of an Indian who never existed, and someone nails St. Peter upside down to a cross because in those days it was a requirement to become the first pope. We all wanted a martyred pope, Papa. This is how we like our heroes, never sunny side up, never miracle-less. We cheer for lions in the amphitheater. 1,000 winters later, we pray to relics or shadows of relics, missing entirely the world behind the world, the reflection of the warrior we could have been. Or maybe Crazy Horse stopped, posed, and forfeited his shadow in the hopes we would pull our fingers from our ears when our visions speak and fuck the prophecies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob. Always a treat. And thank you to all of our readers from our spring issue of Sheila-Na-Gig Online, and our featured reader again, Scott Ferry, reading from Dear Tiny Flowers. You can find our online issues and all of our authors' books and submit your own work to us at SheilaNagigblog.com. Thanks for coming by.